Hello there. Welcome to Just the Discs. Talk about Blu-rays here, and today we are talking about several from the OCN Vinegar Syndrome partner labels, and I'm going to just jump right in with the very special Great Land of Small from Canadian International Pictures. Now, Canadian International Pictures has been doing a wonderful job bringing out some pretty crazy stuff, including some very strange kids films, like the Christmas Martian and The Dog Who Stopped the War. And The Dog Who Stopped the War is actually part of this same series of films, kids films, from a producer called Rock Demers. And it's directed by one of the writers of The Peanut Butter Solution, which is also part of that same series and is also just out of its mind in terms of being a kids movie. This one is described by Miloš Forman as the spiritual father of the Czech New Wave. Director Wojciech Jasny, the Cassandra Cat, somehow found his way to Quebec in the mid-1980s to direct this fifth installment in producer Rock Demers' Tales for All series, a low-budget riff on The Wizard of Oz and The Never-Ending Story, with a strong resemblance to Shelley Duvall's fairy tale theater. The Great Land of Small is a surreal, logic-bending family phantasmagoria that proves to be the ideal showcase for the talents of Michael J. Anderson, who appears in a dual role. Michael J. Anderson, of course, from Twin Peaks, the man from another place. He speaks backwards. You know him. It's neat to see him in a dual role here. He definitely adds to the magical side of things. But proves the talents of Michael J. Anderson, Cirque du Soleil, and the animation of Pascal Blay Productions. Distributed by New World Pictures in the United States, this oddball gem has remained largely unavailable for decades, but is finally back to cast its spell on anyone with an appetite for the unusual. It is definitely that. If you've seen The Peanut Butter Solution, it's not quite as good and weird as that, but it is definitely weird and potentially traumatic to children, but, mostly just weird. It is, the story goes basically that armed with a sack of gold dust and 5 magic spells, kind-hearted dwarf Fritz, that's Michael Anderson, leaves his fantastical home to test the intentions of humans. Soon after his arrival, he crosses paths with Flanagan, a shady hunter who makes off with the magical gold, and starts plotting evil deeds. After forging a friendship with siblings Jenny and David, Fritz takes them to the alternate dimension he calls home, the Great Land of Small. As authorities search for the missing children, Jenny and David are wowed by a fantastical world of acrobats and gold-spitting creature known as Slimo. And Slimo is totally strange. If you can imagine, you remember Globey from Pee-wee's Playhouse? He's sort of like a green, moldy, globy-looking creature that pops out of a hole, and people jump into a hole to worship him, and it is nutty. But when the king and queen plot to make these kids their own, Frisk must risk his own well-being to get them home and stop Flanagan from wreaking magic havoc. So that, gives you sort of a sense of the movie, but really it's kind of one of those movies that is very difficult to summarize because it's just nuts. There's a little something I wanted to read from the booklet that's included here. There's a nice essay talking about producer Rock Demers, and I like his... Okay, so this is part of the Tales for All series, as I said, that includes those other films. In the late 70s, Demers came across an article reporting an increase in suicide among young people. Shaken by the piece, he launched into a 6-month reflection on how to help and inspire today's youth by taking them on a journey and encouraging them to enjoy a happy childhood despite life's difficulties. His mission was to, quote, help to help children grow up, and that's how he made the transition to producing films for them. As conceptualized by Demers, the Tales for All series had to meet several creative criteria. Each of these films had to be contemporary, no historical films, be set in a realistic context in which fantasy could emerge at any time, be focused on live action, not animation, feature real young people aged 10 to 13, alternate between girls and boys as protagonists from one film to the next, feature nature, snow, forest, rivers, wind, etc. prominently, alternate between French, English, and other foreign languages from one film to the next, avoid basing the dramatic tension on conflicts between good and evil, prioritize the child's view and their understanding of the action, avoid gratuitous violence, celebrate the joy of living and encourage an appetite for life and discovery, contain a generous dose of humor and tenderness, and involve actors and technicians of different nationalities. So he would produce films. Demers and a group of screenwriters, directors, actors, and other film artisans made millions of children's laugh, smile, and cry in Quebec and throughout the world. Between 1984 and 2004, Productions Lafette produced 24 Tales for All films. The Great Land of Small was the 5th official entry in the series. So yeah, this movie is crazy, and I like that about it. I like these bonkers movies, the kind of movies that would have been in the, WTF kind of sections at video stores. It is just a movie that is bizarre, but I gotta say I like that sort of thing, and I like that Canadian International Pictures is continuing to put these out. So this one is, as it said previously, hard to see, really. VHS, maybe a YouTube rip here and there. This is a Region A Blu-ray. It's scanned and restored in 2K from the original 35 camera negative by Elephant Memoire du Cinéma de Québécois. Features a new audio commentary featuring film historians Nathaniel Thompson and Troy Howarth. I enjoy their commentaries. Interesting choice to have them on this film. New World Picture podcast episode on the Great Land of Small is included here. Small actors, big roles. 2023, 17 minutes. New interviews with stars Karen Elkin and Michael Blowen. I believe they are the kids in this. Yes, they are the boy and girl. Great Land of Effects. New 10-minute featurette. A new interview with visual effects producer Pascal Blay. Animating in the 80s, also new, 9 minutes. Blay discusses the animation techniques used in the film. Beyond Vaudeville, 1991, 27 minutes, an episode of the classic public access TV show featuring actor Michael J. Anderson. Archival interview with Yasny and the Other Europe series, 1988, that's 26 minutes. Bohemian Rhapsody, 1969, 16 minutes. Yasny celebrated short about his home country. And another feature-length student film co-directed by Yasny and Karol Kachnia called It's Not Always Cloudy from 1949. That's 68 minutes. The booklet essay I was reading from is by film programmer Mark Lamoth. It has reversible cover art, which I am considering changing to, which has the more traditional sort of weird-looking art. But anyway, good stuff from Canadian International Pictures. I like me a good bonkers kids film. Next up we have, this is pretty cool here, from AGFA, we have this thing called Hey Folks, It's the Intermission Time Video Party. And this one, backstory, in the 1990s, something weird video gifted humankind with Hey Folks, It's Intermission Time, a series of 6 magical VHS compilations that preserve vintage movie and drive-in ads. Hey Folks, It's the Intermission Time Video Party is a loving tribute to those cathode tube-fueled days. Featuring Hey Folks, It's the Intermission Time mixtape, an exclusive feature-length mixtape from the AGFA team. I think the main editors were Brett Berg and Joseph Ziemba, who are featured on the commentary, and that's a great track. Big fan of both of those gentlemen. So they've basically taken, I think, bits from all 6 tapes and made this hour and 10 minutes, mashup, which is stream of consciousness weird. I mean, closest thing I could compare that too is like something like the movie Orgy. Joe Dante's The Movie Orgy, if you've ever seen any parts of it, a lot of it is made up of those kind of ads. And, it's local ads, it's old-timey hot dog ads, it's just all kinds of weird stuff. And when you put it all together, it's like the perfect thing to put on, at a party or to tee up a movie night. It's just really interesting. So this is a 2-disc collection, and it has that mixtape, but it also has all 6 volumes of the original uncut Something Weird VHS releases from the 1990s. And this 2-disc collection serves as a mind-altering time machine to this beloved era in home video history. 718 minutes combined for these 2 discs. And we get an insert with writing by Something Weird's Lisa Petrucci as well. But yeah, so you get 2 discs of this stuff here, and all 6 of those tapes contained within this stuff here. So this is transferred from the original Something Weird SVHS masters. As I mentioned, it has the mixtape, it has the commentary with Brett Berg and Joseph Ziemba. First disc has volumes 1 and 2 from the 1990s, and the second disc has volumes 3 through 6. Really fun stuff, really cool, different kind of thing from AGFA. It's not a trailer compilation, but it could easily be something, like I said, you could tee up a movie night with. But really cool stuff, really bizarre, trippy stuff. Very cool, and a project that I think was a big labor of love for Brett Berg and possibly Joe Ziemba as well. So very cool release. Hey folks, it's intermission time. Video Party from AGFA. Next up we have from, this is from Saturn's Core, a little change up this month. It is called Mom and Pop, the Indie Video Store Boom of the 80s and 90s. And take a nostalgic trip back in time to the hallowed halls of your favorite rental shops with Mom and Pop, the Indie Video Store Boom of the 80s and 90s. Wistful new documentary chronicling the meteoric rise and gradual fall of the independently owned neighborhood video store. Tucked within strip malls, tanning salons, gas stations, and grocery stores around the country, the Mom and Pop store became the mecca for budding film and video game enthusiasts to satiate their burgeoning media obsessions. Here, video store owners and employees, as well as filmmakers, podcasters, and collectors discuss the eccentricities of the regional video spots that left an indelible imprint on their lives forever. Featuring interviews with media personalities James Rolfe, Angry Video Game Nerd, Ming Chen, Comic Book Man, and Weird Paul Petrosky will work for Views. Indie SOV filmmaking luminaries, including Lloyd Kaufman, Tim Ritter from Truth or Dare, Gary P. Cohen, Video Violence, Joel D. Wincoop, Lost Faith, and Brad Sykes, Camp Blood, plus profiles on indispensable, still functioning video stores like BizArt Video, Orbit DVD, and Videotech. Mom and Pop, the Indie Video Store Boom of the 90s, is quintessential viewing for anyone who cherished their local independent video store and utilized it as a communal rendezvous for connecting with other like-minded film aficionados. So, it's a sweet little documentary. Maybe a tiny bit repetitive in certain circles because you've kind of heard people talk about this stuff for years. Like, why are video stores important? Because you could hold the media in your hand and you'd have the conversations. And so I've heard a lot of this stuff before, and it's a little bit repeated throughout the documentary, but it is a lot of people talking about some fun memories of video stores and sometimes talking about movies specifically, and I like that stuff a lot. And I especially like the last section, which is talking about Orbit DVD and Videotech and some of these places that are still around and how they maintain these days. That's the stuff I really dig. So this has got an audio commentary with director Bobby Kanipe Jr., bonus interviews with Michael Devlin and Stephen Kesson, extended interviews with James Rolfe and Michael Morris, behind-the-scenes stills gallery, Creature Preacher's music video, reversible sleeve, etc. So I like these documentaries that have been coming out about video stores. It's always nice to see, and this one will definitely take you back. It's got some vintage footage and things like that I think also could be good to put on with intermission time at a party. Just a fun thing to have on in the background. Okay, so moving on from that, we have one more from Deaf Crocodile, Kinaza. And I think this might be their last release with OCN, as they have moved over to a deal with Diabolic DVD, an exclusive deal with them there, which is interesting news. Definitely check out the interview that Disconnected Ryan Verrill did with both the guys from Deaf Crocodile and Jesse from Diabolic DVD, talking about this new merger. But anyway, this says, imagine Andrei Tarkovsky circa Solaris directing Douglas Adams' The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and you'll come close to the existential weirdness of the wonderfully loopy Soviet-era sci-fi comedy Kinaza. Two average Muscovites, a plain-spoken construction foreman, and a Georgian student carrying a violin case encounter an odd homeless man on the street who asks, "Tell me the number of your planet in the Tentura." In a flash, they're teleported across the universe to the planet Pluk in the Kinaza galaxy, a Tatooine-like desert whose inhabitants are hilariously non-communicative. Their main words are ku for good and kiyu for very bad, and where common wooden matches are tremendously valuable. A deadpan, absurdist mixture of Kurt Vonnegut, Monty Python, Samuel Beckett, and Jodorowsky's never-made Dune, where alien cultures are even more haphazard and WTF than our own. The film is also a savage satire of bureaucratic idiocy and dysfunction, no matter what political system you're living under and what planet you're living on. Recently restored by Mosfilm for its first ever U.S. release by Deaf Crocodile and Seagull Films in Russian with English subtitles. This is a Region A Blu-ray. 1986, 132 minutes, 137-1. Sounds like another fascinating foreign film that I've never heard of from the cool folks at Deaf Crocodile. New restoration from the original camera negative and sound elements by Mosfilm. New hour-long video interview with lead actor Leo Gabriadze about the making of Kinaza and the contributions of his father, co-writer Rezo Gabriadze, moderated by Dennis Bartok of Deaf Crocodile. New video interview about Kinaza and the rich history of Soviet science fiction cinema with comic artist Swamp Thing, film historian, and author Stephen R. Bissett, moderated by Dennis Bartok. New commentary by film critic Walter Chaw from Film Freak Central. New written essay by film historian Justin Humphreys. George Powell, Man of Tomorrow. Got a match on vodka and vinegar at the end of history. A new video essay by journalist and physical media expert Ryan Verrill and film professor Dr. Will Dodson. So they are part of this release. Very much looking forward to checking out their video essay. As I said before, they've been cranking on a bunch of different features for a bunch of different labels, and we're going to see a lot of that stuff coming in 2024. So this is one of the early releases that has something they've worked on. Blu-ray authoring by David Mackenzie of Fidelity in Motion. New art by Lucas Peveril and Beth Morris. So that is Kinaza, which just sounds crazy to me. But again, they are always digging out things I've never heard of. That's pretty much their 100% bread and butter for me is, Soviet and Eastern European films, animated films, things I've never heard of, and am very curious to discover. That's Deaf Crocodile's MO these days. Anyway, that's that one. Moving on, we have one from Enjoy the Ride Media called Out in the Ring. And this is a 2022 documentary. Out in the Ring explores the rise in historic LGBTQ plus wrestling talents, past and present, allies and historians, archival footage, and rare photos. Out in the Ring uncovers the history of the pro wrestling industry and the rise of visibility for performers and fans worldwide. So a documentary I didn't know about, and one that sounds very cool. starring Sonny Kiss, Mike Perro, Effie, Susan Tex Green, Danny Jordan, Reza Clark, Pollo Del Mar, Ashton Starr, AC Mack, Dar Sheik, Charlie Morgan, Scott McEwen, Caitlin Diamond, Bertrand Hebert, and Billy Dixon. This is a Region A Blu-ray, 104 minutes. Includes a trailer, exclusive clips and outtakes, and a commentary track by director Ry Levy and editor Brad Webb. So that's very cool stuff. From Enjoy the Ride, doing yet another documentary. I love that Enjoy the Ride has focused a lot of their releases on these smaller documentaries of varying kinds to do with pop culture in different forms. And this one sounds definitely intriguing. Lastly, we have from Utopia this movie called Drift. And Drift is from 2022 also. Jacqueline, a young refugee, lands alone and penniless on a Greek island where she tries to first survive and then to cope with her past. While gathering her strength, she begins a friendship with rootless tour guide Alia Shawkat, and together they find the resilience to forge ahead. So it's directed by Anthony Chen, starring Cynthia Erivo, Alia Shawkat, Ibrahima Ba, Honor Swinton Byrne, and more. 93 minutes, 185-1, English and Greek, Region A. This has a director's commentary with Anthony Chen, but that is it in terms of the features on this one. But it does sound intriguing. From the producers of Call Me By Your Name and Nomadland, apparently. So that gives you an idea of the kind of film we're talking about, the kind of indie. And this sounds like another one that I don't know anything about. I've completely missed. A lot of these newer releases tend to pass by me, these indies that get picked up by some of these partner labels. And this one sounds very intriguing. So that is Drift from 2022. And that'll do it for this round of OCN Partner Label titles for April. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.